Welcome to the Moonflower Show.
Hi.
It's winter.
Yeah.
And also...
winter's coffee.
Oh my goodness. It's winter in Colin.
Oh yeah!
Yeah.
I'm on this episode. Hi there. Welcome to the Moonflower Show.
Yes, welcome back. How you doing? Are you doing good? I hope you're doing good. I'm having myself a nice...
I'm doing pretty good.
Oh my gosh. You're off the rails right now.
So what are we talking about tonight, Winter?
Tonight we're going to be talking to you about grad school tips, in which I share with you my tips for grad school.
Cool.
Yeah.
And what made you want to talk about grad school tips?
Well,
is it the fact that you're in a very rigorous grad school program and it's always on your mind every day?
Yes, that's exactly what happened. Basically, whenever we sit down to try and plan for the Moonflower Show, we come up with ideas, and one of the ideas that I've had over the past 5 weeks, which is exactly how long I've been in my fall classes...
Would you look at that?
has been, why don't I just do an episode on grad school tips? And then Colin always says, no, because I won't be able to contribute anything because I'm not in grad school.
Yeah, and I've never been in grad school, so I'm interested to see what Winter will have to offer as far as tips go, and I'm going to be... I don't know. I'm going to be reacting to them and giving my thoughts, I guess. I'm going to be a reaction podcaster.
It's going to be a live streaming of my tips and a live reaction from Colin.
But you guys won't hear it live.
It will be recorded.
Yeah.
So,
oh gosh.
I guess without further ado, I should start spitting out some tips, shouldn't I?
What's tip number 1?
Tip number 1 for grad school is get enough sleep. Don't...
No.
What?
Just kidding.
No, you're incorrect. My biggest tip for grad school is to get enough sleep. Even if you have a really heavy workload, you always want to make sure that you're prioritizing sleep. And I guess what also goes along with this is exercise and eating decently healthy food. And I feel like this goes without saying, but you want to make sure that you're keeping your body healthy so that you can actually, do your schoolwork. And then also you want to be keeping your body healthy for the sake of keeping your body healthy, because it's a nice thing to do for yourself, and you should take care of yourself, regardless of whether or not you're in grad school.
Yeah, and all of that is a lot easier said than done.
Oh, it really is a lot easier said than done.
What comes to mind is, and we talked about this a little while ago, I think it was a couple months, or maybe a couple weeks back, we were talking about, that meme of the triangle, where it's at one end is good grades, one end is enough sleep, and one end is social life. And the meme is choose two, you're choosing one side of the triangle, so you're choosing two aspects to have, and you're sacrificing the other one between sleep, grades, and social life. But then there's another version of the meme that I showed you that's more accurate. That's like a 12-sided shape.
Yeah.
And it's good grades, enough sleep, social life, love life, family, exercise, just mental health, all these different aspects that you're somehow supposed to sandwich into your schedule. Yeah. And then in the middle, it's just trying to balance everything, and then eventually it all falls apart and you have a complete breakdown.
Yes. Yeah, well, I think the thing is,
I guess I'm asking, how do you avoid that?
How do you avoid that? Well, I think, first of all, I'm not going to sit here on this grad school tips episode and pretend like it's easy to have everything and it's easy to balance everything that you need to balance, because it's not. It's hard. And I could talk for probably another 5 episodes about why I think that's kind of messed up, and why I think that should not be how things are, and how prioritizing, I think it's good to do well in school, but you also want to make sure that you're not letting any kind of work take over other important aspects of your life. including, you know, your mental health and spending time with your friends and family and all that good stuff. And I do think that schoolwork is a type of work, so you want to make sure that that doesn't completely take over. I think it's really messed up that there's a lot of pressure for it to take over everything else. But I also think that, you know, in those kinds of memes, what really happens, I mean, they're very depressing, right? Because what happens when you look at that, it's very pessimistic. Those kinds of memes, like, really take away, like, any kind of agency that you have in that situation. And I think that's kind of unhelpful because, you know, like, again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's easy. I think there's so many different conflicting pressures on us, and it's impossible for anybody now to have it all, you know? Because school, college, when it was designed for wealthy white men who had families at home who were taking care of everything else.
Yeah.
But college students now have to oftentimes work to support themselves through school. You got to take care of your home. You got to take care of your laundry and, like, all this other stuff that just eats up your time. And the fact of the matter is that this wasn't designed for that, much in the same way that the 40-hour work week was not designed for a single person. It was designed for a family where one person could make a sustainable wage for their whole family on that 40 hours a week and then come home to a partner who was doing all the domestic labor and taking care of the kids. You're not supposed to be able to take care of your entire family and your home and work 40 hours a week and have that all work out. It's just not how it's set up. We don't have enough time in the day. So with that in mind, with that very depressing image in mind, I don't think that you can have it all. Like, I do think that it comes down to choosing. But where I think the agency piece comes in is you have to get really honest with yourself about what's most important. So during my orientation for my grad program, actually, we had some alumni come in, and we asked them, like, hey, like, are we going to have, like, free time in this program? Are we going to have time to, like, hang out with each other?
Right.
And do fun things? And the alumni said, no, you're not going to have that. You're not going to have time for that. And I was really mad about that for a couple of weeks, I would say. And it started to set in that, like, this semester is really going to be, like, me working all the time, all my waking hours, you know?
Right.
And ultimately what has actually helped with that is acceptance, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I've accepted that I'm going to be working for all of my waking hours. And I'm not saying that that's going to be a sustainable thing. If I had to do that for the rest of my life, you know that I would be figuring out a way to get the heck out of that situation.
Yeah, it's important to remember that what your life looks like is going to change. And you're only sacrificing certain aspects of this meme shape.
Yes.
Certain aspects of your life for a period of time while you focus on your priorities.
Yes. I do think that there is so much to be said for if you are in a situation where you are working so much that you cannot have a balanced life, that I would encourage you to do anything in your power to change your circumstances. And I know that is, again, easier said than done. And I wish that it was more common in our culture to accept that a lot of us face really hard circumstances, but also that there is always something, even something small, that we can do to make our experience better. Even if that doesn't look like getting out of your situation entirely. It could mean setting a boundary that says, like, I get 5 minutes to myself, like, at the end of the day, to, like, sit on my porch and have a cup of tea. And, like, guarding that boundary, you know?
Yeah, you said pretty early on to me in this program that you were going to employ the tactic of, I am scheduling time either for myself and for, like, sleep.
Yeah.
And then if I don't get my work done, then it just, or if if I need to put more time into my work, but it's going to eat into that time, then it's just not going to happen.
Right.
Like that's the boundary I'm setting.
Yes.
And that's okay to do.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So to elaborate on what Colin just said, I have set boundaries in the form of time blocking for all of my tasks. So basically once a week I sit down, I see what I need to do for the week for grad school, and I estimate the amount of time it's going to take. That has gotten easier as I've gone through my program a little bit, because I have a better idea of how long it's going to take me to do different things. But I schedule time into my schedule. And if I see, like, let's say I'm planning out for Tuesday, I see that Tuesday I'm going to be working late. I'm going to be working until like 11 or 12 or 11 p.m. or like maybe even midnight. Then I'm going to look at that day and I'm going to say that's too late for me to be working, because I need time to shower at the end of the day. Basically, my boundary is I need 1 hour to myself, at least, at the end of each day.
Yep.
And I need to get 8 hours of sleep. So basically what that means is I have to be done by like 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Or realistically more like 10:30, 11 o'clock, depending. So if I'm going past that point, if I'm planning out my week and I see like, oh, if I spend the amount of time on this work that I'd really like to spend to do my absolute best work, and it's going to go past 11 o'clock, and there's nowhere else that I can move this in my week that wouldn't also push it past 11 o'clock, okay, I was planning to spend 3 hours on this task, all right, I'm going to spend 2.5. And then I stick to that, you know? And then I say, I treat the task like a person, just like you would enforce your boundary with a person who is demanding your time,
Yep.
You say, this is the amount of time that I have for you. This is the amount of time that I'm going to give. I'm going to give you my full attention for this time, but I'm sorry, that is all I have. And then at the end of that 2.5 hours, I'll say, okay, like, I've done my best with the amount of time that I've allotted for this task, and it's not perfect, but it's getting submitted the way it is, because at the end of the day, like, I don't care enough about school to lose sleep over it anymore.
Yeah.
And I want to, like, reinforce that. I don't care enough about school to lose sleep over it anymore. Like, if you are losing sleep over something, a person, a job, like anything in your life, that is not a good sign. That is, and it better be something that you, like, are deeply, deeply passionate about. You know what I mean? And I am not passionate enough about grad school to be losing sleep over it. I'm just not,
Yeah.
I will work for every waking hour. I will work. As long as I have time to eat and poop and, like, shower, I will work every waking hour. But the second that it starts inflicting on my sleep, I'm sorry, but I just don't have time. Because I don't have time.
Yeah.
I don't have the time for that.
That is a great boundary and a great tip.
Yeah.
And what's also interesting to me is that you were talking about the alumni that came to this little, like, this little get-together, and said that you wouldn't have time to hang out and do fun things. But on several occasions already, you have had that time.
Yeah, and I think that's because I've set a boundary about reserving some time to, like, have fun. So, like, I will try to spend time with Colin or go out with, like, my cohort or something. I'll try to spend, like, at least an hour or two each week, like, doing stuff like that. And then also, as I've set this boundary for myself at the end of the day, I have, like, an hour at the end of each day that, like, I defend, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's also time that I get to spend, like, just chilling or, like, hanging out with Colin. And yeah, so I would say, I have some recreational time throughout the week. And I've also noticed that because I'm getting so efficient with my time and setting these boundaries, where I'm like, this task is going to take me an hour. And if it takes more than an hour, then too bad. Like, I just have to, like, turn in what I have done at the end of the hour. I'm getting really good at managing my time because of that.
Probably helps you work faster, too.
It helps me work faster. And, like, to be honest, as a perfectionist, I'm realizing that as an undergrad, I probably put, like, way too much effort into, like, chasing the law of, like, diminishing returns.
That's what I was about to say, diminishing returns.
Yeah, exactly. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
I mean, it's like when you write a paper, right? And you have, like, the rough draft. it's for the most part, the rough draft is what the final paper is going to look like.
Yeah.
For like at least, unless you're completely redoing the paper and the rough draft is terrible.
Right.
You've already done like 80 to 90% of the work.
Yeah.
And you can spend however much time editing and finalizing your rough draft. And sometimes it goes through multiple iterations, but each time you're only bumping up the potential grade you're going to get by less and less on average. And then some people will just take all the time that they humanly have before the assignment is due to make sure they get that eensy little itty bitty like 0.05% more quality, and the amount of time that you have to spend to make the next iteration is the same amount of time as you spent making the iteration before. Yeah. So it's like you're getting less and less bang for your buck there in terms of time management and your grades, and it's great to get really high grades and all, but some people really put like their school work above so many other priorities in their life. And it's fine to make schoolwork your top priority. Oh yeah. But it shouldn't be so high above your other priorities that it's affecting things like your health, your physical health, or your mental health, or like your sleep schedule. Yeah.
Nothing is worth harm to your body. Yeah. Nothing. Yeah. You know? Well, maybe some things are, but I don't think that school is one of them. Yeah. You know? Mm-hmm. Maybe if you're in a situation where you're defending something that's important to you in a physical way, I could see that being important and worth the harm to your body. But I feel like school is not something that is worth harm to your body. And when you stay up late and you're getting sleep deprived and you don't have time to cook yourself healthy meals, you're harming your body. You're hurting your body.
If you're sitting there staring at the paper and you've been working for like the past 10 hours and you're like, this is going to be a 92 paper, but I know that I can make it a 95, but you haven't eaten all day. Yeah. It's like, just cash in, you know?
Yeah. Set the boundary. I think you have to decide what is important to you, and you need to be real about how much time you have, you know? Yeah. So, yeah, if there's 12 things in life, like the family, social life, mental health, good grades, keeping your house clean, whatever, and you know you can only pick 2, then okay. Either, pick 2 to do perfectly and be conscious in that choice and be like, okay, cool. If I can only pick 2 of these things, I'm going to do school and I'm going to take care of my health, right.
Yeah. Because it's not so black and white. You're not just like strictly choosing 2. It's like, it's a gradient.
Exactly. And that was going to be my next point is like, okay, if you can pick like, what would it be? 2/3 of the way on 3 of them, then maybe you can also do that. Maybe you could be like, all right, cool. I'm gonna do B grade work in school. I'm gonna do B grade work on my health, and I'm gonna do B grade work on my social life. Yeah. Then awesome. But you need to just be mindful. You need to be realistic about how much time you have.
That's a really good point.
And like this meme is really depressing. But if we only have time to do a certain amount of stuff, then you have to get real about your priorities. And be like, okay, what are the most important things to me? And put your time into that, and don't beat yourself up for not having everything else together. Like for me, I made a conscious choice that this semester I'm not going to get to the gym. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. And that's a bummer because I do want to like take care of my physical health, and I like going to the gym, and I do think it's important to like I like doing like muscular like training. Like I think that's really important for my health, and I would encourage others to do the same if you're able. But I've accepted that like, okay, for the next 4 months, like it's not going to happen, and I'm not beating myself up. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm trying to do everything and then dropping the ball. I am purposefully putting the balls down in advance, so I'm not trying to juggle too many things, you know?
Yeah. and there will be time later to work on that.
Exactly. It's not like I'm giving up working out for the rest of my life.
Yep.
Like, it's me saying, okay, cool, I need to get through this program. And I know that I'm not going to have, honestly, I don't even have the hour a week to go once a week.
Yeah.
I just don't. And that's not that I couldn't, like, make the time, because I could, right?
Yeah.
But what would come as a consequence is, like, okay, I get an hour less of time to spend with my friends, or I do a little worse job on my schoolwork, and I don't want to do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Grad school tip number 1 in the bank.
I feel like that was actually, like, 5 different tips.
Yeah, it was one overarching theme of tips.
Yeah.
But
all under the penumbra of get enough sleep.
Yeah.
Or hey, if sleep isn't important to you, then don't get enough sleep. The point of this is, like, pick what your priorities are and
get some sleep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I would say get at least 6 hours. At least 6 hours.
Yeah.
Figure out how much sleep you need to, like, function. If you are falling asleep during the day, you're not getting enough sleep.
That's a sign that you need more sleep. As obvious as that may sound, some people need to hear it.
And I have some people who have confided in me in my cohort that they are getting 4 hours of sleep a night. And I'm like, bro, like, you are probably, like, having to spend so much time on your schoolwork because you're exhausted.
Yeah. Vicious cycle.
A vicious cycle, right, because you get less and less efficient. I'm like, bro, go take a nap.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is a vicious cycle, but...
Whew.
Yeah. Get enough sleep, fam. Get enough sleep. I did not prepare for this at all.
That's my one grad school tip.
All right, everybody, just kidding. I'll give more. What else is a grad school tip? Grad school tip number 2, I would say, is to get organized and get with it in terms of time management. And I feel like people throw those things around and it's like, what does that actually mean? Here's what it means. Get a calendar and use it religiously. Like, put your appointments in the calendar. When somebody says, hey, do you have time for a meeting on this day? Look at the calendar and look at that day and say, do I have anything on that day? Next, you are going to want to put your tasks in. When you get your syllabus and you have all the different tasks, put your little tasks in your little calendar at a time that you'll be able to get them done by that is before the due date. For larger tasks, break them up into smaller tasks and then put those smaller tasks on your calendar. And I do mean on your calendar. A lot of people like to put them as, like, all-day events so you can see, like, okay, here's my task list for today and here's my events for today. And then you can see exactly what's going on. Better yet, what I have started doing is time blocking all of my tasks. And I mentioned this before, but basically that just means, like, at the start of each week, I will, like, sit down and estimate how much time each task is going to take and then put that as, like, a time block, like, on my calendar. Like, I'll say, okay, this is going to take an hour. All right, we're doing it 12 to 1. Mm-hmm. And then I can see how long things are going to take me. So if I see one day is, like, piling up, I can say, okay, is there anything I can move to the next day or even next week, Right. So that I'm not sitting there at, like, 9:30 coming up on bedtime, with a million other things that are due tomorrow,
Yep.
So that is what I mean by time management. It literally means seeing your time as a resource, having a tool or tools to manage that, just like you have tools to manage every other resource, like your food is a resource, you meal prep, you have dishes and a dishwasher and tools to wash your dishes and a refrigerator to keep your food. Did I already say that?
Yes.
I'm tired. Anyway, you have tools to manage this resource of food. You also need tools to manage the resource of time. Get a calendar, use it, and check it every day or multiple times a day, If you're ever thinking to yourself, what am I supposed to be doing or what do I have going on today? Look at your calendar. Update your calendar. Live, breathe, and speak your calendar. That's my tip.
Okay, so first tip was 20 minutes long. that tip was 4 minutes long.
I feel like I was more concise with the time management thing because I feel like there's less to say about it.
Well, yeah.
I feel like when you tell people to get enough sleep in grad school, they're like, oh, well, like, I can't get enough sleep because I'm in an 80-hour-a-week program.
Work to do.
Yeah, and it's like, yes, you do, and you need to set boundaries about how much time that work is going to take.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So if I were to ask you what 3 tips that you have for grad school, I would know the first 2 that you would give me.
But you would not know the third.
Yeah, the third one would be a mystery to me at this point in time.
Are you asking what my third tip is?
What's your third grad school tip?
Wow, what a setup for a tip that I am still thinking of on the fly.
I was trying to buy you a little time.
That's so nice. You definitely bought me some time. You would have bought me some time if I was a little smarter.
Imagine you could... Oh my god. Imagine you could literally, like, give somebody some time as a gift.
Oh my gosh.
Like in a box. That'd be the greatest gift
How
ever.
much would it cost?
If time was a commodity, or like, you know, could literally be bought and sold,
Gosh.
that we'd live in a very dark and different world, I think.
If time was a commodity,
Well, it kind of is,
I would
in
be a
way.
lot more violent than I am now. Oh my gosh.
Imagine people like robbing stores to like get
Steal
more
time.
steal time.
Oh my gosh.
That would make a great like book or like
I'm sure somebody has already written that.
maybe.
Wait, haven't you seen that like movie where all the people are walking around with like timestamps floating above them or something? Or maybe it's a guy, he gets like hit in the head and then all of a sudden he can see how much time people have left to live.
Doesn't that happen in Death Note?
No, it's like a live action movie.
The live action Death Note movie?
No, it's different. It's different. I'm pretty sure that this concept exists in a movie somewhere. Let us know in the comments, Mr. Flowers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would tip number 3 be? What would tip number 3 be for me?
I mean, think about what you've learned so far, not in terms of the material, but like your experience in grad school so far.
I feel like I covered so many different tips in the first one. I mean, I feel like I've learned how to like set boundaries and stuff, but we already like talked about that.
What about making friends?
Making friends?
Okay.
I don't actually have a lot of tips for that. I think that's hard.
But
well, actually, for me, I've actually learned this recently about like my program specifically, is that it's really hard to make friends.
Yeah, but you know, I like that you did this proactively because you wanted to have some friends on this program. You basically took the initiative and you made like a little group chat with all the people in your program.
Yes.
And you know, you were the one that initiated that, which connects you to everybody else. You've started to draw the web. When you were the one that started to draw the web, and now everybody has a line from them going to you, which is really smart if you want to make friends.
Yeah.
And then they will probably make all those little lines between each other, but everyone's already connected to you now.
That's true.
And it may not stay that way, but at least probably some of them will stick.
Yeah.
And, you know, you've already had some friends over.
Yeah.
And I think that may have been a result of your proactiveness.
I think it was because I noticed that the people. So I had some people over to my place for a little social distance like board game night.
I hate that we have to say it like that.
Right? That we have social distance. Well, I don't want people coming for me and being like, "Why are you having a board game night in a pandemic?" But I also don't want people being like, I don't know, whatever. So I had people over for a little social distance board game night.
I like that you think that doing the voice will prevent or will change people's opinion about what you're doing.
I don't think it's going to change their opinion, but I think it's going to protect me emotionally. It's like an emotional buffer.
Just think about it for a second.
Yeah.
The voice isn't going to change shit.
No. It's
you had a social distance board game night.
I had a social distance board game night.
You won't even say it in your normal voice.
I won't. Anyway, so people came over. And I was like looking around the room and I was like, oh my gosh, all these people in this room have one thing in common. And it was that I had found them either on like Facebook or like through our like Facebook group. We also had like a Slack for our program. And I had connected with all of these people individually. Like, individually, I had sent them a message and been like, hey, like, just wanted to introduce myself. Like, what's up? I'm Winter, you know?
Yeah.
And I looked around the room at this board game night, and I was like, oh my gosh. First of all the people who are here are people who I had reached out to individually.
Right.
And they are the only people here. Like, nobody who I didn't reach out to individually is in my house right now. And I think that's because, like, the people who came through, like, felt special. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I had, like, reached out to them. I did put, like, an invitation in our group chat and said, like, if a couple people, like, want to, like, come through, like, absolutely, like, everybody's invited. Our program's kind of small. There's, like, 30 people in it. So I did extend the invitation to everybody. But, like, nobody came who I didn't have, like, a specific connection with.
Right.
And now I wish that I had reached out to everybody individually and said, like, introduced myself, you know, and said, hey, I really want to be your friend because I do want to be everybody's friend, you know what I mean?
Right.
Everybody in my program.
That includes that person.
Right, exactly. And that includes you. And I think people really feel more open to connection if you make them feel, like, special, you know? Because they are, you know? And, like, if you want to make friends, like, reach out to, like, individuals. And maybe my circumstance was a little different because I, like, knew who was going to be in my program in advance, so I just, like, reached out to everybody and, like, put everybody in a group chat. But if you're, like, in a different situation where, like, you don't know, like, who's in your program and you don't know, like, who to contact, you're not in any groups, you're not in any group chats, reach out to, like, specific people.
Yeah.
You know? Like, DM people. Like, if you're in, like, a group project, like, for your, like, class or something like that, like, DM somebody if you want to be their friend and be like, hey, do you want to, like, grab coffee?
Yeah.
You know? Like, slide into the DMs and make some friends.
Yeah, and it's nice to have friends in, I mean, this doesn't just go for grad school, it goes for undergrad or, like, can apply to other things, too. It's nice to have friends in your program that, like, you know what they say, misery loves company.
Yeah.
It's nice to have friends that are doing the same thing that you're doing because then you can like, if you're somebody who benefits or just enjoys studying in a group, you have that option, or if not, you can at least talk about it and understand what each other are going through. And you can even, like, have your little own inside jokes about it. Like, we were playing Jackbox with them, and they put, like, some answers related to the university. And I was like, oh, that's cute that they are, like, you know, they're having their own little brand of humor.
Yeah.
Because they're all in the same grad program.
Yes.
And I was there, too, and I'm not in the grad program, but I thought it was really cute. So yeah, it's nice and helpful to have friends within your little program, your cohort.
Yeah. So I guess tip number 3 is make friends, and a good way to make friends is, like,
be proactive.
Reach out to people specifically. You know, put everybody in a group chat together. Have fun. Try to make plans. Invite people to do things. You know. And reach out to specific people. Like, if people aren't, like, hanging out, like, DM them and be like, hey, would love for you to, like, come to our, like, next dinner together.
Yeah.
Because I really wanted to talk to you about, like, XYZ, and I think you're really cool.
Maybe even, like, do, like, something after midterms or something. You know, like, hey, I know we all just went through midterms. Let's all get a drink or something. Yeah.
Although for us, for our program, we don't have midterms. We have, like, try terms. So, like, I am in this good month of September already. I've actually just finished my first round of exams.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Yeah. And so I'm not going to have, like, midterms really, but I'm going to have, like, another, like, round of exams, like 2/3 of the way through.
The sentiment is the same.
Yes. Yeah.
Celebrate yourself, celebrate each other.
Yes, totally.
Celebrate the victories.
Yeah. I have a fourth tip at the ready.
Oh my goodness, you have a fourth tip?
I have a fourth tip. Are you ready for this?
I'm excited. What could it be?
Don't always feel like you have to do all of the work that you are assigned.
Did you just say that out loud?
Yes. And this goes hand in hand with what I have to say about boundaries for tasks. Because there have been times when I have an hour to do readings for a class, and I have hundreds of pages of reading, and it is not going to happen. But rather than encroach on my sleep or encroach upon my rejuvenation time, I say, okay, I'm going to spend an hour. I am going to get as much done as I can in this hour, and then that's going to be it. So this tip has to do with what I just said. So, like, don't feel like you have to do all the work. And then specifically for readings, if you're crunched for time on a reading, I have some tips for you. And this is not to say that you should automatically, like, do this. Like,
Right.
I think that you should only, like, is skimp the right word? Skimp?
Skim.
Not just skim. Only, like, because it's not just for reading.
You have to finish the sentence for me to know what you're talking about.
Like, don't just, like, cut off, like, parts of your work if, like, you're just trying to get it done and then have, like, extra free time.
Don't cut corners.
Yeah, don't cut corners.
All the time.
You should cut corners.
When you need to.
Yeah, when you need to. And by when you need to, I mean, like, hopefully you're planning out your week. And, like, there have literally been weeks that I've had where I'm like, I cannot get everything done that I need to get done this week and get enough sleep. And have my precious sanctuary of 1 hour rejuvenation.
So don't plan to cut corners.
Don't plan to cut corners. Well, no, I'm saying you should plan to cut corners. Say for me, say you're sitting down at the start of the week, and this probably won't happen for people unless they're in, like, an absolutely, like, nuts grad program like I'm in right now. It's supposed to be, like, 60 hours a week, and that's, like, 60 hours of work, not, like, between class time, like, not, like, me waking up and getting ready, or eating, or pooping, or, like, taking a 10-minute break to look at my phone. It's 60 hours of work. And it's a lot. And there have been weeks where I will sit down at the start of the week and say, like, I cannot get everything done. I cannot do it. This, like, getting everything done would require me to lose sleep. And I'm not willing to lose sleep. So if I'm trying to, like, skim a reading, read the introduction. Read the abstract. Read the first and last sentence of every section in the reading. And then read the conclusion. That's my tip for doing a reading quickly.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you should do that. Like, if you have 3 hours to do the full reading, and the only reason that you want to do it in an hour is so that you can go watch Netflix, I wouldn't recommend doing that.
Yeah.
But if you have an hour and you need to go to bed in an hour in order to get a full night's sleep, then yes, do this, you know? And I think this goes for, like, projects also, and, like, papers, you know? Like, don't feel like you have to, like, get every single little detail perfect.
Yeah.
You know?
Do your best, and sometimes your best is not 100%.
Yeah, and, like, that's okay. And I think you also define what your best is.
Yeah.
Like, would my best look different if I was willing to lose sleep over school? Probably. But do I care enough to lose sleep over it? No. And I think that's a reasonable statement.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Do you have a number 5?
Do I have a number 5? I do not have a number 5 at the ready.
Because I have a question for you that might spark your imagination about a potential number 5, or maybe just be an interesting topic of discussion.
I would love for you to ask your question because I do not have a number 5 at the moment. I'm coming up with these on the fly if it wasn't obvious. And guess why? It's because I didn't have time to plan.
We sat down to plan the next episode of the Moonflower Show. We were like, all right, what are we doing? Grad school tips. And I was like, maybe not, because I've never been in grad school. And Winter's like, well, you better think of something.
I was like, okay, so we're doing grad school tips, and then if you have a better idea, we'll do that. But I'm not sitting down and spending any more time planning for this.
Yeah.
So we basically spent like 5 minutes planning. Yeah.
But my thought was, and I know that you've only been in the program for a couple weeks now, and it's still kind of a new thing for you, but is there anything so far about grad school that you expected to be different? You expected it to be one thing, but it was actually a different thing.
That's a really good question. I don't know that there's anything super different than what I expected, because I came into this program knowing it was going to be a lot of work, knowing that I was going to be doing a lot of group projects, knowing that, you know, it was going to eat up a lot of my time.
Did you expect to currently be assigned 6 group projects for 5 classes?
I can't say that I was expecting that at this time. I think if you had said that I was going to have that in, like, November, I don't think I would have been as surprised. But I am surprised that I currently have 6 group projects for 5 classes. Yes.
Oh, my God. I shudder at the thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not just 6 projects, 6 group projects.
Yeah. Yeah. Although, actually, one of the group projects is not starting for a couple weeks. So technically I have 5 projects and 1 project that is going to turn into a group project.
Impending group doom.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Well, honestly, most of the people that I've been working with are like very pleasant to work with.
That's great.
Yeah. It definitely was not always like that, and it is definitely not like that for everybody all the time.
Yeah.
I've been blessed with some great group mates so far. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think tip number 5 might be about group work.
Okay. You can think on the, if anything has been different than you expected, or maybe just it's been all as expected.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much as expected. Like, I knew it was going to be a lot of work. I think if I was in, like, denial about it being a lot of work, it might be different than I expected, but, like, I knew that I was going to be
and it doesn't just have to be about the amount of work. Just, like, is there any, like, are your, like, professors, like, super wacky? Or, like, are they, like, do they not know as much as you would think they knew?
Yeah, actually, one thing that I did not expect is I did not expect... There's 2 of our classes specifically that are using, like, a relatively new tool for classroom flipping. So we watch, like, a lot of videos, like, as homework and do, like, practice problems and stuff as homework. And then we talk about them in class, which is super helpful. And I really like classroom flipping. But because these tools are new and, like, recently made, I suspect because of the pandemic, there are a lot of errors in them. So we're trying to learn new material and then having problems that have, like, incorrect, like, feedback. Yeah. It's, like, automatically given to us. So, like, half the time when we go into class, we're like, professor, like, I was really confused about, like, why I got this problem wrong. And he was like, oh, you actually got that right. And, like, the feedback is just wrong. And the system, like, marked it incorrect. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that can be kind of confusing, and I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, that's frustrating, too. And I remember you remarking that you were learning about online education and how to make that efficient.
Yep.
And to teach you that material, they're using very inefficient online teaching methods.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's real fun.
Yeah. It's super great.
You were gonna say a tip number 5. Sorry to interrupt you.
Tip number 5 is about group work. I guess this is kind of a collection of tips. When you're in group work, remember that everybody else is just as stressed out as you are. Nobody else wants to be there either. When you are assigning group stuff, what you need to do is basically keep in mind your next, like, deliverable. Like, for us, like, we have group projects that span, like, multiple steps that we have to turn in. So keep in mind that next step that you have to turn in. Figure out, do I need to meet with my group to get this done? Like, basically, what are the steps we need to take to get to that next project? And, like, as you take each of those steps, like, make sure that you are on track for the next one.
Yep.
So that you can turn in your stuff. And then beyond that, like, I mean, basically, like, whenever you have, like, a meeting with your group, make sure you schedule your next meeting in advance so that you're not, like, scrambling at the end of class to, like, figure out a meeting time with, like, 7 different people in, like, a bunch of different classes with wildly different schedules.
Yeah. That's a great idea.
Make a group chat right away. Make a Google Doc where it's not even, like, for an assignment, but it's just, like, a home base, like, Google Doc. Put the link to the group chat in there. Put a link to, like, any resources that you use in there. Put all of your emails, contact information, and names in there so that everybody has access to that stuff, so that you're not, like, scrambling with, like, little pieces of paper and stuff. That's also a great spot to, like, take meeting notes if you're, like, meeting as a group, and to keep track of, like, your timeline. I personally have, like, a template that because I'm in so many freaking group projects, I now have a template that I use for, like, a home-based document. No, I'm serious.
Your group members must love you.
Yeah, I actually found out today that somebody requested to have me in one of their group projects.
Oh my
And she, like, told me, and I was like, that's so nice. And she was like, yeah, I want you to teach me how to be so organized. And I was like, that's the nicest thing that anybody's ever said to me.
You're pretty much the most organized person that I know.
Well, I do it because if I'm not as organized as I am, I can't function.
Right.
But basically, I have a template. I'm really excited about this template. And I use it as, like, a home-based document whenever I am assigned, like, a new group. Mm-hmm. And in the template is, like, our names, emails, phone numbers, link to the group chat, section for meeting notes, section for timeline of all the deliverables that we need to turn in. Usually some sort of, like, step-by-step plan for the next, like, upcoming deliverable, and then anything else that we need to put in there. I had, like, a group that had to do, like, a lot of research together, so we had, like, a section for research. Google Docs are your friend. Yeah, just, like, I really recommend making some kind of template if you're doing a lot of group work, and you can, like, totally customize it. Like, using, like, headings and stuff is really easy in, like, Google Docs. And you can just make whatever sections you need for, like, whatever stuff you're doing with your group. And then, like, when you're ready to turn something in, you can just copy and paste the parts you need onto a document with your names and then turn that shit in. Your group members will love you for it. Your life will be a lot less stressful, and it will be really clear to see, like, where all the different pieces are. And then if anybody is ever confused about what they need to be doing and they're texting you at 1 o'clock in the morning, you can say, I'm so sorry, I'm not at my computer, but I think it's all in the document that we made together yesterday.
Well, color me impressed, Moonflowers.
I only know how to do this because I'm in so many group projects, and, like, it got to a point where I was like, I like, can't do this. And so I, like, took the liberty of, like, organizing all of our, like, group stuff, put, like, messages in all my group chats, was like, hi, I made some edits to our, like, organization structure, hope that's okay. If you hate it, I'll change it back, thanks, bye. And then everybody was like, oh my gosh, we love it.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I'm like starting to do that for all of my new groups as well. Just make sure that everybody's always clear about what steps they need to take next, and make sure that those steps are in alignment with getting the thing done. I had to take a not a personality test, but I had to go through this like workshop for one of my classes to figure out, like, what my work style is. And there's, like, 4 different work styles according to this one, like, framework. And 2 of them are, like, people-oriented. One of them is, like, being, like, social. One of them is, like, everybody getting along. I don't know the difference between those 2. And then there's, like, 2 kinds of tasks ones. And one of them is, like, detail-oriented, where you, like, really want to get things right. And then one of them is deadline-oriented, where you want to get things done. And I'm the deadline-oriented one. Yeah.
Winter thinks that I am the detail-oriented one, which sounds right.
Yeah, I think he's the detail-oriented one.
I often get paralyzed while doing tasks by the fear of doing it wrong. And if I don't do it at all, then I can't get it wrong.
Yeah, but also, like, I will go over to Colin and ask him, like, oh, like, what do you want for dinner? Like, what do you want to, like, eat? And then he will, like, look at me with, like, little duck lips and just, like, stare at me. And I'm like, just make a decision. And he's like, well, I need to, like, figure it out. And I'm like, just say what you want.
Yeah.
You always have to make the right decision.
Uh-huh.
Oh, there's also this one cute, funny moment that happened last week where we were playing the Game of Life.
Yeah.
The book that we were using in our last episode.
Yeah, we decided to take it out to dinner and ask each other a couple more questions because we had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, and so we're sitting there, the conversation's flowing, and then, like, I asked Colin a question, and he's just, like, staring at me, and I'm like, what's wrong? And he's like, oh, I have to, like, think about the answer. And, like, 5 minutes goes by, and I'm like, oh, have you, like, figured out your answer? And he's like, no. And I'm like, the point of this game is not to, like, get the answers right. It's not to get the answers correct. It's not a test. The point of the game is to have a conversation, and you are not having a conversation with me.
But it's like, I'm considering the question as if it is a real scenario and I get to make one decision, you know?
Right,
It's like I get to choose one person in the entire world to like have like a fancy dinner with, right? And then like, oh my gosh, I could pick anyone. I have to like really deliberate on this.
Yeah.
And like I'm thinking of it literally in my head as if this is a real scenario.
Yeah,
so I can give you
taking it very seriously.
The most genuine answer.
Yeah. So you want to give me the perfect answer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you want to get it right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Whereas, like, for me, I'm, like, just trying to have a conversation with you.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much my approach to all things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is counterproductive a lot of the time.
Well, I think it's very productive a lot of the time, but I think the only place where it, like, really comes to bite you is that it can be hard to, like, make decisions and, like...
Oh, my... It really came to bite me in school.
Yeah.
I mean, like... Yeah.
Yeah.
All that stuff about time management and, like, getting enough sleep. And it's like,
Yeah, because if you want to get things right, you will be forever chasing that law of diminishing returns.
Yes.
Trying to get it perfect and eating away at other things that are important to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whereas for me, a deadline person, my strength is setting boundaries like that and being like, this is what I need to do to get a new... This is... Whoa. This is... This is what I need to do to get it done. Here's when I'm going to do it. Boom, it's done. It's not perfect, but I got it in on time. Whereas, like, people who are task-oriented will, like, deliberate, and they want to get it not just done, but perfect. And so the downfall with that way of thinking is that you get, like, paralyzed by decision-making. The downfall of my way of thinking is that I don't slow down.
Right.
And I don't always, like, apparently, like, hear everybody's ideas.
Yeah.
Which, I guess that is a flaw, but also... Maybe this is, like, not fun to, like, work with me, or, like, a reason why it's not fun to work with me, but, like, I kind of don't care. Because ultimately, like, I'm here to, like, get stuff done, and if you want to spend extra time losing sleep over something, then I'm not here for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I will help you up to the point. I will make everything organized for you. I will make sure everybody's on the same page. I will carve a clear, distinct, and doable path for everybody to get from point A to point B. You can come with me, or you can whack your way through the weeds, but I'm not coming with you.
Yeah.
You know?
And that does have its uses to great effect. But then there's also things like creative projects for which there is no deadline sometimes. And then it's like, I want to make the right decision with those too, and then I can take all the time I need.
Yeah.
You're like, I just want to make a decision.
Yeah, like with stuff for the Moonflower show, it's like there's no deadline to like turn stuff in.
Yeah.
This isn't school. But like for me, like all the tasks that I do, I have like a specific time that I like get them done to do that. Like, the editing.
You kind of do have a deadline, whereas I don't.
That's actually true.
Yeah.
Maybe we should switch. No, because I think it would help both of us.
Yeah, you want to have no deadlines?
No, because I'll make my own deadlines, and then you need a deadline to get things done.
Well, if you're gonna make your own, you already made your own. If we switch and then you just make your own again, that's not really switching.
Well, yeah, but then this time you would have a deadline, and you.
So I'm just adopting your lifestyle.
Yes, my lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle.
Wow, that's offensive.
It's offensive?
Yeah, you're calling my deadline approach a lifestyle.
The fact that you take a calendar and block out your time?
The fact that I have an approach to getting things done.
That's a lifestyle.
Is it?
Yeah.
You're tempting me to Google lifestyle.
Well, I guess that'll happen off the mic.
I guess it will, and I think that might be a good place to wrap up.
Yeah, I really enjoyed your grad school tips.
I'm glad that you enjoyed my grad school tips.
If and when I am in grad school, I feel like I will go back and listen to this episode and see how they hold up.
Oh yeah, you're gonna put them to the test?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, Moonflowers, if you're in grad school and you're trying out any of these tips, let us know how it goes. And I guess we will talk to you next time.
Yeah, thank you for joining us on another brilliant,
and
thoughtful...
bountiful episode.
Yeah, I guess it's brilliant and bountiful. And not thoughtful.
I was going for like the B theme.
Oh, yeah, brilliant, bootylicious episode.
You heard it here first. Moonflower Show is a bootylicious podcast.
All right. Have a good night.
Good night, guys.